Hey family, today we're going to talk about paint sprayers. Again, because I heard through the grapevine that you guys like paint sprayers, and we're going to talk about an HVLP paint sprayer. Now what is that? We'll find out right after this. Now this is an HVLP handheld paint sprayer. HVLP stands for high volume, low pressure, meaning that it uses or intakes a high volume of air into the system by means of an internal fan or an external compressor, and then it converts that high pressure volume of air into low pressure or a low pressure stream of paint, and that paint is broken up into very small particles by means of a turbine. Okay, the technical term for that is the paint is being atomized, right? Now that results in a finer, more smoother finish, or with less overspray. The spray from a standard spray gun is so aggressive that only a quarter of the paint may get to the surface, and that's not very efficient. That's why HVLPs or HVLP sprayers are more popular now. Okay, so this is a Wagner 2500. So let's talk about some of the parts of the sprayer here before we go any further. This right here is the on-off switch, and I'm going to lay it on its side so you guys can get a better look. Get some better light on it. Okay, this is the on-off switch, and right now it says 0 or O for off, but if you press it down, now it's on. Now if I flip it over, on the opposite side it shows that it's on. Okay, if I push down, it shows that it's off, right? So if I turn it over again, it says off. Okay, so the O is on the bottom on this side, and it's on the top on that side, and the same for the on position. If I push it up, the on is on the bottom of the switch, and it's on the top on the opposite side. So they're just making the on-off switch accessible on both sides of the device, and that's versatile, and hey, I like it. This switch on top right here is a 2-speed air power control switch. So right now it's in the first speed, and you can ratchet it up to the second speed. Speed number 2 will get you faster coverage and a smoother finish with thicker materials or thicker paint. Speed number 1 will emit larger droplets and result in a rougher finish. So if you're going to use thicker paint or thicker material, you may want to operate at speed number 2. Now, if you're going to use thinner materials, you may want to decrease the power, because spraying thinner paint at a higher power level, like speed number 2, will result in overspray. So you don't want that. Overspray is when the material or the paint doesn't stick to the surface and it bounces back. So that's not a good thing. This right here is the trigger. Now this dial right here is the material flow control. As you can see, it has numbers on it, and it determines the amount of spray material that's sprayed from the nozzle. So you can adjust the settings on it depending on the needs of the project, right? So if you don't need that much material, you can just turn it down. Okay, and if you need a little bit more flow to come out, a little bit more volume, just turn it up. Now, for thicker materials, you want to start with the highest control setting, okay, on the dial here, and that's about 12 there. Then you want to work your way down as you spray to figure out what is the best setting, okay? So you want to start with the highest for thicker materials, thicker paint, and work your way down until you figure out what's the best, most suitable setting for your material, for your paint. For thinner paint, you want to start on the low end of the spectrum, okay, and work your way up to figure out what is the best setting for your thinner paint. Now you got to remember, the higher the setting, the faster you're going to have to work to avoid drips and sags in your paint. So you got to be careful that your paint doesn't start running on you. Now you also have to keep in mind, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if the volume is too low that you're emitting, it may not provide adequate coverage of your area. Now this right here on top of the nozzle area is called the width selector, meaning how wide do you want your spray stream to be. Here, this is for a narrow stream, and here, this is for a wider stream, okay? So you can just turn it to there if you want a wider stream, and you can turn it back if you want a narrow stream. Okay guys, when you're getting ready to paint, you want to remove the turbine from the cup, a nozzle, okay? This is the turbine right here, this area of the device. You want to remove that from the cup, okay? So right here is this tab here. You want to pull it down. As you pull it down, you can twist off the turbine. Place it aside somewhere. Then you want to remove the cup from the nozzle. Now you can pour the paint into the cup itself, or you can use a liner here, a paint cup liner. Place that in the cup. Make sure that when you put the liner in, you want to spread it out inside so that it contacts all of the edges, okay, or the surfaces of the cup. Then you want to fold the edge of the liner over the top of the cup, okay, like that. Using the liner is optional, but it's good if you're going to use different types of paint, okay, because after you're done, you can just take it out, dump it, and you have a fresh cup, right, ready to put another liner in to use another type of paint. So it saves you from having to clean the cup over and over again. Then you want to take your paint. I got some drywall paint here, and fill the cup with the paint. Now it's time to attach the nozzle and your suction tube to your cup. Now, if you're going to be spraying straight ahead or downward, you want your suction tube to be pointing away from you, straight ahead, like this. If you're going to be spraying overhead, like your ceilings, for example, you want to make sure that the suction tube is pointing towards you. So you just turn it like that. So let's turn it back away from us, straight ahead, and put it on our cup. Now we can reattach the turbine back to the nozzle and cup. Now we're going to make sure that our width selector is where we want it. We're going to try the narrow stream and the wide stream to see the difference between the two. All right, anytime you get ready to spray paint or use a paint sprayer, you want to make sure that you wear a mask, okay? And you also want to make sure that the area is well ventilated. You don't want to be inhaling those noxious fumes. They're no good at all. If you're going to be using a side-to-side pattern, you want to make sure that the nozzle, this portion of the nozzle itself, is parallel to the floor. So you want to grab the ear caps right here, twist it so that this portion of the nozzle is parallel to the floor, east to west. If you're going to be using an up and down pattern, you want to make sure that this portion of the nozzle is perpendicular to the floor, going up and down. So you just twist the ear caps, and there you have it. So we're going to be using a side-to-side pattern. So once again, I want to twist the ear caps so this portion is parallel to the floor. That was the wide spray pattern. Let's switch it to the narrow and see how that looks. Well, the wide definitely covered more ground than the narrow. Remember, when you're painting or spraying, you always want to keep the nozzle at the same distance from the surface along the path. You don't want to do this. And you want to keep the nozzle no closer than 6 inches from the surface. Now it's cleanup time. Okay, so we can get rid of this liner here. But if it has excess paint in it, you can pour it back in your paint can, because you don't want to necessarily waste what you got, right? You still got a little bit left in there. You can pour it back in the paint can. If you didn't use the liner and you need to clean this out, you want to get some warm soapy water, put it in there, wash it out, clean it out, because the paint we used was water-based. But if it was oil-based, we'll fill it up with mineral spirits to clean it out. Okay, so we dumped the plastic bag, so we don't necessarily have to clean this out. The suction tube, you want to take that off, rinse it out. Of course, it'd be better under a sink. So whatever you got, just clean it out. If you got a brush or something, you can stick it in there and scrub it out as well. You got something in here, like I said, you can clean that out. You can clean this out as well. Throw some water down there. If you got a brush, you can stick it in there, scrub it out. You can leave these out and let them dry. Put them back together later. Well, that's how an HVLP handheld paint sprayer works. What do you think? Did you learn something from the video? If you did, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.